Hey everybody, it is the 2020 show coming tonight. I'm fired up about Doug Bell being our guest tonight. I was thinking about it. Doug, he's like on page one of my Jamaica side of the story, and you're going to really enjoy this, and just it's going to be great. So hang on, it's going to be a great show tonight. Douglas Bell.
Doug McCloy.
So good to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to this and just kind of digging in. We've had a little, for everybody out there, we know that we've had a little time kind of catching up because we haven't seen each other for a long time. Like we were saying 2012? No. How long do we think it was?
We had that adult get together. Man, I'm going to go with like 5 years ago.
I think that sounds good. I don't want it to sound like 6. That would be way too long.
5 is too long.
Nice. So catching up with you is great. Just hearing about all that's going on in your life and what you've been doing and everything else. I want to get to all that stuff with you, but I especially want to just talk a little bit. Stuff we haven't even talked about yet is just kind of the early days, like some of the way back days. Because as I always kind of share that, a big part of doing the 2020 show is to kind of tell the story about Jamaica and mission aside, and then we throw professional eye care in there and everything else. So in lieu of writing a book, I'm doing video chapters, and there could not be a book about my life, or especially my life in Jamaica, without you in it, so it's good to have you on here. I don't think we could drag Jan and all the rest of those guys in. We might maybe do like a group one, but if there's anybody that I ran with back in the day when it came to Jamaica, it was definitely you. Am I right?
Well, how many Jamaicans? I don't know if we were known singularly. It was just Doug and Doug, or Big Doug, Small Doug.
That's right. Hey, Pembroke is already on.
I do that.
So, yeah, it was always. It was a Big Doug and Little Doug. How did they go to us?
Big Doug, Little Doug.
Yeah. So we went down. I mean, I guess for people to know, the very first time that I went to Jamaica was my sophomore year, was your freshman year.
Yeah. Spring break.
Tell us a little bit about your memory of that one.
Well, I know we were looking for a place to go on spring break, and there was one of the ads, a flyer posted somewhere on campus, Jamaica, flight and hotel, and it, at our very limited budgets, it seemed doable. I mean, I don't think we planned much further than getting there. I think we forgot about that extra part. All right, we're here. Now what?
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we just picked it for convenience, and it fit. We didn't really have any. I didn't have any pre-knowledge of Jamaica, and I had no idea what to expect.
No.
And it was a group of us. There was quite a few of us.
Was it all Delt? I mean, was it a Delt started, or who picked the idea anyway? Like, who was the stir?
I feel like it was me. I remember bringing a flyer home and we called on it.
Oh my God.
The guy who was organizing that's a whole nother story. That's for a different show. The guy that ran and organized that first trip. But he was
Sunsplash Tours, wasn't it? That we went on?
It was what tour company? Sunsplash Tours.
Sunsplash Tours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't imagine they're still in business.
No, I don't think they are, but I do know that I always, when I would tell my story about how I kept in Jamaica and how I was going through, is that I remember I became a rep for Sunsplash.
Yeah.
That if we led 10 or 15 of us down there, you'd get a free trip, you'd get $500 and you'd be like the Don, like walking around with everybody that is the right position to have.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody was so happy to have somebody that had a little experience down there because it's so overwhelming.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think back to our crew when we first got there. We were just blown away. I mean, for a lot of us, that was the first time we'd ever been out of the country. And that drive from Montego to Negril, that was an eye opener.
Oh, and back in that day, man, that was crazy. Hey, Ken Wall's out there. Ken always shares this thing out. If anybody's watching this, if you're watching, if you'd share it out, it'd be great so more people can catch the story. Boy, I can't even, I just still can't believe we got there, number one. And like one point you said was like, I think all we did was realize we were just going to get there. We had no clue what we were going to do once we got there.
Yeah. We were just there and we didn't know what to do.
We survived. We thrived. We met Charlie. I mean, I remember mainly me, you, and Jan seemed like we found Charlie in the craft market in the beach. And he was cooking us up lobsters, and he was giving us some of our favorite veggies, like every night, wrapped up in a bundle. Yeah. And we just went there every single night. It was basically drop off money, eat lobster, come back that night.
Yeah, or he introduced us to ackee and saltfish.
Oh yeah,
that's where I learned. That's where I learned the pace of. Okay, I'm going to make your ackee and saltfish. You know, 3 hours later, it's like, all right, we're ready to eat now. But
it's time.
I mean, that's where we made that connection with Charlie. I mean, that was on the first trip.
Yeah, never left him. Still chat to him now, even to this day.
Yeah, it's amazing how some of those people we connected with right off the bat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that so Pembroke, he's got him, Sweetie Charlie.
Sweetie Charlie.
Yeah. Now Pembroke, you were down. Wasn't Craig down there? He came down on a couple of trips, didn't he? Or you have to tell us, Craig. Were you on him? I feel like he's on at least one of them. I mean, we went on. So we go that year, and literally every spring break for the next 4 years for you, I think.
Absolutely. And summers, and got a few winters in there too. But we were, and you were bringing groups down. Once you got to Ohio State, you were bringing groups from Columbus.
Yeah.
I was bringing, by that point, not just BG people, but like some of my high school friends had started going, because there's quite a few of my Lake Orion friends.
That's right. I do remember that.
We're going back and forth.
So Rhonda's there asking who else was on the first trip. So you need to chronicle this because you're the one with the memory.
So me, you.
Excuse me. Steve Vanderink.
Steve Vanderink. Yeah, thank you.
Vic.
Tony Manolatis.
Oh my gosh, first trip.
Morton Ab.
Yeah, Bob Morton, Chris Aberzizi.
Crash Tafari.
Yep. Craig Maturi.
And I want to say Brian Bell was with us.
I wouldn't doubt that.
And Mike Young.
Wow. Yeah, that was an all dealt trip. And you actually are the impetus. I think
I really think I brought it back to well, at that point I was living with Kent McGuire.
Yeah. Right
across from the Delt House. And yeah, we just, hey, let's call this guy and see. And next thing we knew, we were all going.
Pembroke says he couldn't afford it to come. That was what his deal was. And I believe it. Craig he's always working hard to make it down there, you know?
Well, I don't know how we pull it together each time. But
I don't either.
Remember back in the day, I remember there was that $199 round tripper from Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean,
and basically at that point, I remember the one summer I went down there and I just stayed in a tent on Charlie's land. I think I almost gotten eaten alive by all the ants. But it was basically just get to Jamaica and we'd be fine.
Well, and slowly Charlie's place got built up so that we could sleep actually enclosed. And
right.
Have a shower and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, it was kind of like rustic camping for a few of the years. We didn't care. We got everything we needed. I lived off oxtail soup for a few days.
And it was Jamaica. I mean, it wasn't like it was hard, you know, to slum it around there. And back in those days, you could walk into the hotels, basically. I remember us just going into places that we probably didn't belong in. But
I remember we had snorkel down down the line of the cliffs, and we just get out wherever, and there'd always be the little showers to rinse off, and that was our story for the day.
Shower. Exactly. So that is our Ken saying sounds like a bunch of hooligans, and I don't know what the definition of hooligan is, but we might have been close. Although
I do know that amazingly, none of us ever got in any trouble.
Right. Never.
No, I've got a nice little scar on my shin. That's the only real souvenir I brought with me. That's negative.
Rhonda says she never realized it. I don't think I did either, that you were actually the catalyst of this whole thing. Like it's it's your fault if there was a fault, or it's your
credit.
Your credit.
I'm not ashamed of anything that's come out of there.
No, I love it. It is really to your credit. Now back in that day, then, we were pledging together. Like that's how we met each other, was through pledging at the Delt House. Mm-hmm. I was a sophomore, you were a freshman. Yeah, because Kent was in the class with us too. Mm-hmm. Right, all betas.
Well, the other guys weren't. They were younger. They had pledged. They were getting ready to pledge the following fall.
Okay.
Jan and Ab and Mort and all those guys, and Tony. No, Tony was that pledge class of 3.
Huh. So it's interesting. So you're the catalyst, and I do want people to that's a great part of our story, is to kind of go through that, to then see what I'm looking forward to toward the end of the show is talking about the stuff that you're doing now in your life and that I'm doing in my life. And if you really would have looked at us back then, you may not have thought, like a lot of times, maybe I've got a bad angle on it, because sometimes I look at it and say, my God, I could have been, all kinds of trouble could have come upon me for what we were doing or what I was doing or what we were running around and playing around and doing. But you kind of said earlier in the show, though, we were actually pioneers.
We were pioneers.
Tell us about that part.
Not that people wouldn't have gone to Jamaica or we were like pitching it to people, but
that's true.
We had gone, and I think people could feel our excitement. Everybody's excited to talk about their vacations and trips, but I think when they'd hear our stories, just like Craig was saying, he loved hearing our stories.
Yeah. I
think the part that drew people to the idea of going to Jamaica was that they could hear something more in the stories we were telling, other than just, it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's great reggae music, it's dirt cheap. They could feel the connection that we had with not just the people, but the whole culture. And, and we were talking before the show about, international travel a little bit.
Yeah.
That whole exposure to a different culture. I mean, that's contagious for a lot of people. And I think having you and I to kind of, and it expanded from you and I too, but just having somebody that had a little experience there, it took away that one little scary piece that allowed other people to jump on board. And I don't know very many people that didn't catch right into the same fever that we had.
Boy, it's so true. I don't think there's anybody that ever went that doesn't have that memory or that tattoo of that experience embedded in their life, Yeah,
I mean, there's certain places that they stay with you.
Because there's a ton of optometry people, Ohio State people, peripheral people. So I like that, man. How old were we then? Ken's asking, how old were we? Lord of mercy. I was 19 or 20, sophomore year.
I mean, I started VG when
I was young.
I was 18.
You were 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just legal enough to go to war or something. Well, look at this. Pembroke says he's been there 4 times since college. Love it.
Yeah. Now I can't afford it, Craig.
I love it. I love it. So it's really true. We were actually pioneers, and I love that. I love that angle on it better than just like crazy spring breakers, because we really weren't. I mean, that's what I think what kind of drew us there was that everybody else would go to like, Daytona,
Padre, Fort Lauderdale, whatever. Yeah.
Because there was a crew of adults that were doing that and they were having a good time, but we knew we had something special going on our trips. Like,
we made some serious lifelong friends. I mean, there's, and just the experiences and something else we were talking about, what drew people in. You and I, from a very early on in the whole experience, we had plans that we were going to be in Jamaica.
Oh yeah.
I had gone as far. I was talking to the Minister of Education about getting a license there and how much, what would the pay be? Where would I be? And I mean,
dude,
I kept down with it, but that vision was there pretty early on, second or third trip down.
Oh yeah. Look at Spick. He's on.
Love
those spring breaks.
Oh boy,
Charlie.
Man, I look at some of those pictures of us. There was we were some guys that really enjoyed the time we had together. Right? That was such a brotherhood.
Oh, it really was, dude. Huge brotherhood. I gotta have this picture. I think I've always keep it there. It's not on there right now, but there's one of me and you in front of Sweetie Charlie's. I don't know if it's Mort that's with us in that pic. Lord, I don't have it on there. I'll have to share it another time. But
yeah, I know some of those pictures. I look at them. I wonder how I let myself get so fat in those years.
Well, back in that day, we used to run mountain bikes up and down the West End. We walked everywhere. We didn't have a car. There wasn't much transportation.
No, and when we were in Jamaica, we were playing basketball all the time. Even in Jamaica, in 95-degree heat, we'd be playing basketball on dirt.
It's so true. So true. So, but from early on, you and I linked together. I mean, we've been connected. Well, obviously from when we pledged and all that, but then Jamaica, I think, kind of tied us a little tighter than before. And it's interesting because you were saying you were looking to go there. I always tell the story that all the way through school, all I was ever going to do, I was going to go be a Rastafarian, live on the beach in Jamaica, drink some Red Stripe, do my game and whatever. And, I'd always had that in me from way back in the day. I did go down there. Obviously now it's kind of where we're at. But if I hadn't been in the profession I'm in, I don't know that I could have done it. Like I remember there was one time where I was just going to go down and do water purification analysis out of my senior year because I had a chem degree. So I'm like, well, I'll go down and do water purification. That'll work, But the issue, like for you too, like the job, like to go down there and get an education job, there's no money at all for that for you.
Yeah, and the opportunity to have a family and all that would have
kind of all changes.
Well, I don't know how you have managed to pull that off. I mean, that is a serious tribute to you and your wife, and especially your kids.
Yeah, it's huge on the kids. It's huge, and it's huge on Rhonda.
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Someone had to steer that ship when you were gone. Oh
man, big time. So. Talk about this one, hoops. That's a good memory we have.
Never lost, man.
I tell you, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we just have to bring that up because I don't know if one of my boys start watching this. I just need to get some validation that we ran the floor at the rec center. That's all I remember is the rec. I don't remember that too. I mean, I remember our Delt days and all that other stuff too. But tell me about your memories of basketball at BG.
Oh my gosh, man. We, just like you said, we ran it. It's what we did. I was having a conversation earlier today, one thing that maybe people don't understand or will believe, you were the one that really instilled in me, because you had a year of experience on me at school, that you got to go to the library every day. You just have to force yourself to go and study for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You just have to do it while you have something to do. And then we have to go to the rec and play basketball. So we got into that routine where we knew when both of us were done, we'd go do our studying and then we'd go to the rec for however long.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh man, those were great days. Think about all the guys we met doing that. I remember, and we were there in the summers where it was hard to even get enough guys together to get a good run in. Mm-hmm. I remember those summers. Remember the summer with Frank Booker.
Oh yeah,
you remember that name? I mean, he was trying to catch on in the NBA, and
right.
And, he taught me the definition of training hard and never giving up.
Yeah,
but it's just that's what we did. That's what we did.
It's so true. Wonderful. I miss that. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, I'd still go up and run that if they had like a over 40 or over 50.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to sprint or something like that.
But there's nothing like those days. I'm glad you brought up to me. I do remember there was a time where I did go to the library. I think it was like around my junior year, I realized I had to go. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get where I wanted to be. Like had to put some priority in place.
Well, we eventually figured it out. I think there's probably not a college student out there. Well, no, there probably is. I don't think my children have gone through this, but I know a lot of them who have wondered, man, am I going to get kicked out this semester? Where you get that weight.
Exactly. Rhonda's on there. What? I didn't hear that. She never heard about the library. I'm so glad. See, this is why I love this show, Doug, is because like there's things you remember I can't even remember. Like like to me, this is a chapter in the book. This is our chapter. Maybe we'd have to have another one to get it all in, and we'd have to have about 10 of these to really get a full.
Hey, we were good influences on each other. For as hard as that might have been to see at the time, from the outside looking in, we truly did look out for each other.
Well, we did. We loved each other. We still do.
Yeah, I mean, like we were gonna make sure each other had fun, but at the same time, did what we had to do to allow us to keep having fun.
Yeah. Morty, he says it's over 50. Are you over 50 now, Doug?
No, I'm not. Sorry, Bobby. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming though, right?
Yeah. June 8th.
When is your birthday, Doug? When is it?
June 8th.
Oh my. Yeah, it's coming for you. So you're going to be 50 this year. Or 51. You're going to be 50 this year?
I will be 50, yeah, in a couple months.
Wow. Are we going to have is there going to be some kind of 50 party for you?
Well, hopefully we don't have to do it online.
Exactly, because it's not that far away. We may not be free yet.
No, I think the last time I was texting on this show that I was scheduled to be in Chicago at a conference, but of course that was canceled.
Right, a lot of that, man. Okay, so here we are. You're in college, man. There's one thing I don't know if I want to bring it up or not, but your teeth, dude. How are your teeth these days?
I still have them all. I mean,
any pain? Any?
No, it's all good. I mean, my dentist now he's a great dentist, but he'll make his little jokes about there's still some of that bonding that guy did. He'll make jokes but yeah, that repair job at whatever it was, 2:30 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that guy just get me in and get me out.
Well, I can't live that one down. Every time I see, I think about it, like, because that was back in the day. And so Butter says that Spick's birthday's today. So
it is today. I saw that on Facebook.
Man, how'd we miss that? Spick, happy birthday. He must be like 56, right? No, 51. I wonder how old he is. He's got to be
51 or 52.
Yeah, 51. He's probably in your game, right? Well, I do remember that night though, but it's all Spick's fault actually, because he's the one. Him and Butter, weren't they the ones who always started this head slapping thing with us?
That's what it was.
It was so really, it's all their fault. No wonder I'm talking about the
happy birthday. Yeah, happy birthday, Spick. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But we were a little bit. We had a little too much up at the the Hall of Foam.
Hall of Foam.
We were working the Hall of Foam, which that's another story. But had a little one of those matches and a little uppercut. I don't know what I was thinking, and you lost all those teeth.
Well, it was like the one time that I actually had you. I had your head down. I was pummeling the back of your head, and you came up with a Mike Tyson uppercut. And I don't know if it was my bottom teeth hitting my top ones that knocked him out, or my head hitting the ground when I fell backwards.
Oh, for you to still be my friend after that it just shows the depth of our relationship,
And that was on my birthday. That was my 20th birthday.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is that when today is Spick's birthday and that happened, I thought that was your birthday. It was like, which justifies why we might have been in the position we were back in that day. But anyway,
Kent McGuire.
Yeah. Gotta love Kent. So moving on, amazingly enough, we both graduate. I mean, I go on to optometry school, and that's kind of where our roads start to kind of they split a little bit, not too much. I mean, we still kind of caught back together on Jamaica, and I still came back to BG, but definitely, definitely, it's probably about where we started to do. We started to go on. We started to not, I wouldn't say split, but go our own pattern. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we both started our careers. We both got married relatively soon after that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being in Columbus at the I House.
Yep.
Popping in there when you had a roommate. Remember when Bridge was living with you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, we still managed to connect, but yeah, at that point we were the broken elbow. No, but I was starting my career, you were finishing up, and then grinding. You did a couple attempts. If I remember, you had a pretty rough attempt at making it work in Jamaica the first go.
Yeah, it was challenging. It didn't go out the way it should. At the same time, my heart was all with Rhonda. I was like, I met her right before I left, and all I could do was think about her while I was there. But yeah, the practice I went to didn't really work out, and I came back to BG, or I came back to Lima actually, to work with Dr. Archer and their whole BG crew of practices. From Elida is where I moved back to from there, and worked between BG and started optometry here in Ohio. But then, my life just started changing in a different direction. I went a lot more faith-based in what I was doing, still just as intense about Jamaica and all that. And kind of took me to where most people that watch know the story about our missional life and the years of service down there and building a practice and doing all that stuff that we do. What I thought was really interesting was hearing your story. And that's what I want to kind of pull out of you is the road that you've taken, because it's interesting how parallel our lives have still been in our professional life, how they were we were like that all through BG. There's no question about it. And then even though when we left there, we still ran in a parallel fashion. So tell people a little bit about what you do. I mean, you're like an adjunct professor at BG. You've done a lot of international stuff. The impact that you have on people's lives now is significant. So give us a little line on that.
Whew. Well, it is like a separated at birth story, because it is amazing how in completely different fields our professional lives have been super similar.
Yeah.
So right out of BG, I got a job with Toledo Public Schools, and I was a 7th and 8th grade science teacher for 19 years on the east side of Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they got rid of all the elementary school, or all of the junior highs in Toledo. They made everything elementary schools. And because of my licensure, that meant I had to move to a new location. Mm-hmm. So I went to the Phoenix Academy, which was a school for kids who were struggling a little bit. It was an alternative school. Everything was delivered online. They came in person and did their work on computers with teachers there, but it was all computer based. They didn't have to sit in classes. And then connected to that was the Polly Fox Academy, school for pregnant girls, teenage girls. So I was the dean of there. That's where I started my switch into administration. At the same time, it was when I was going through a divorce. So I erroneously thought, well, I need to go into administration to make some more money. Not realizing that I did realize it, but I was at 19 years of salary as a teacher. As an administrator, I went back to zero.
Oh, wow.
So, but I knew I could make up that ground eventually or whatever. And it was just time.
Right.
So from there, I was there for 4 or 5 years. They offered me an assistant principal job back on the east side of Toledo at an elementary school, which I had never worked with little kids. I'd always been 7th grade or older. So I took that job and had it for a year and a half. And then I got informed about this job where I'm at now, Marshall STEM Academy. It's another TPS school that they were, because of a history of performance or achievement, they were going in a different direction, and they flushed the entire staff and administration, hired myself to interview teachers, and they were opening it up rebranding it as a STEM school. So going from a traditional to a STEM school, they were doing the same thing at another school across town. So they hired the two of us as principals. we interviewed a couple hundred people and got to pick our staff. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. During all of that time, I was involved with a group called Expedition Inside Culture that was taking BG students, primarily education students, to Europe on learning expeditions where we'd partner with students from Romania, Ukraine, Germany, and Poland, some high school students, most of them were college students. And we would explore topics like human rights, of course, leadership skills, communication skills, and all those other things that come up with that diverse group. You know, the diversity was intentional, and we embraced it and grew from there. And then that eventually evolved. I started teaching classes for BG, and this Expedition Inside Culture trips evolved into a graduate and undergraduate course where I was taking soon-to-be teachers. We'd pick up a few people, like we were talking earlier, from the pop culture department. But it was just a great model for new teachers. I think for any college student really that hasn't explored a lot, just to be immersed in a different culture, and go through these experiences in a place outside of your comfort zone. So it's a great model for teachers to sometimes live in the world of their students where, you know, their teachers are coming at them from a different world. So for soon-to-be teachers to experience that is great. And then on the leadership side, it's also a great place to develop some of those skills when the anxiety and tension's high. If that comes close to answering your question.
Well, it does. I mean, the interesting thing I noticed, like for you too, is that you've kind of always been dealing with I'd say low income or I don't want to say disadvantaged or.
No, that's accurate.
I mean, it's just interesting because, well, I know your family. I know you growing up. I mean, you don't come out of that. In my perspective, you know, you had that normal. You had a great traditional, healthy family and everything else, and then we do all this Jamaica stuff. And it's interesting that you find that in your professional life, you go back and you serve the underprivileged, or you did why didn't you go to the ritzy private schools of Toledo? Why wouldn't you go there?
What's interesting, when I had to make that decision, you know, the school I was teaching at for all those years, it's all, I mean, we had 98% free and reduced lunch, you know, for the student population. So it would be considered an underprivileged area. But I just fell in love with that characteristic for those students. Those students are so resilient and their lives are so interesting, and it's easy to fall in love with that job because the kids are so receptive and they need you. And you know, as far as having a sense of purpose, it's really easy to never lose that there. But we both, you were talking earlier, I remember in your original question about how we've kind of been parallel. We've both, without recognizing, I think, have had that innate desire or tendency to serve.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, people that can and enjoy and can be successful teaching in the so-called hood or the underprivileged, that's where the people like that need to be. And what you're doing with your work in Jamaica, somebody needed to fill that gap, and was missing. And that's one way where in our development as professionals and adults and a little more responsible people than we were back in the PG days, that's something that we both had. And I think all along that we are people that take care of our friends and those close to us, but we've grown and now seen that, you know, our purpose is to serve others, however it is. You know, as a principal, I'm serving my teachers. I'm trying to serve the community, and of course the students. Yeah.
Huh. You know, I was thinking about, you know, like purpose. Something I've heard, or it just came to my brain, is like purpose over profits, in a sense that like the longevity and the endurance and the joy and the pleasure that we get in what we do as professionals, money doesn't do it. You know, I mean, money can make you happy or whatever, but but finding purpose kind of makes up for the money a lot of times. Well, I think all the times, actually, you know, once you know you're living a purpose-driven life. So, but we were pioneers. I love that part. Hey, answer Rhonda's question. She's got a good one there. She says, what do you see as the biggest benefit or growth for students who experience a cross-cultural situation? Like when you take these kids on cross-culture, what's the big?
Well, a lot of times I'm looking at it through the lens of an educator trying to develop young talent. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, I don't know what it is about BG, but a lot of BG students haven't come from very rough beginnings. You know, some struggle more than others, but BG teachers are, for some reason, they are drawn to the inner city or the extreme rural. They're drawn to the high need areas. So these international and cross-cultural experiences, if they're led the right way and with some good structure, it forces the participants to learn to not just be aware that there's other perspectives, but to how to work with those and how to appreciate them and put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
That appreciation and understanding of what a powerful tool diversity can be instead of looking at it as an obstacle. I would say that is a big one. And then going abroad and getting out of your comfort zone. Things that we take for granted as Americans, when you're sitting talking to a 16-year-old, you know, as a grad student at BGSU, and you're talking to a 16-year-old Romanian high school student, and they're just whipping off more about American history than I've ever known in my life. It can be a very humbling experience. And I think humility is one of the greatest traits of a leader. And the people I was working with that were going on these trips, we were training them to be leaders. And that humble pie is a super important part of the puzzle of being an effective leader. If you think you already know it all or you've experienced everything, eventually you're gonna lose the people you're trying to lead. So that exposure to, man, maybe I haven't looked at it every other way. Maybe my perspective is not the only one. Maybe it's not even the popular one that I think it is. Those are super valuable lessons. And again, taking them out of their comfort zone when anxiety's high and emotion levels run high. Just like on your missions, how you can probably predict which day your participants on the mission, you can predict the day when you have your debriefings at the end of the day, someone's going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
You know when the emotions reach that point.
Yeah.
And again, having people that have been through it and good leadership, you can use those situations to really make those impacts stick with them.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just, you forget about the things on a vacation or a good class or a good lecture you heard. But those experiences that you actually become part of and you have some emotion attached to it, they stick. Yeah. So it's, a lot of those things, just knowing what it feels like to not be the popular voice, to not be the majority, to not understand just because of where you come from. You know, that was the beauty for me, taking students to Poland and forcing them to, okay, you have to order for yourself. No one's going to help you. You know, good luck. You can do it. And then being able to relate that in a debriefing or reflection session later about, man, do you think your students might ever feel like that? Like you're speaking a language that they just don't understand? Wow. So there's a lot of value to the study abroad. I mean, and I don't think just for educators. I think for everybody. I think especially as Americans, we need to get out and make our world a little smaller because we really, in the traditional education setting, we just don't get that exposure.
Wow, we need to get out there and make our world a little smaller. That's what you said.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good one. I don't know that I hear that one. I don't know.
Well, I have just like we did in Jamaica, and maybe that's one of the important things I take from Jamaica. We weren't afraid to go out there and talk with whoever, and maybe we made some poor judgments about maybe we shouldn't be with these strangers and so trusting. But man, more times than not, when we got past the differences that we had with us and just sat down and talked with people, gosh, it's so valuable. I feel like right now, and I haven't been to Jamaica in 20 plus years. I could show up in the grill and I could find a place to rest my head for the night. It's nice knowing that I could do that in Romania, Germany, Slovakia, Poland. You know, when you have those connections with people all over the world's a pretty small place, and it makes you realize, yeah, we might dress different, we might eat different. Man, we're all the same. You know, I do a lot of observations in schools in Europe. I love going to see the little people. And this was even before I was working with little kids. They are just, little kids are little kids. If you ever had to have proof that it doesn't matter where you're from, little kids are little kids. I don't care where you are. They all act the same. You know, they're all excited and eager to learn and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the value of getting outside of your comfort zone. You know, there's a lot more out there.
I wonder how much of that Jamaica taught us, you know, because back in that day, like you said, we would walk around pretty free. And back then I remember banging fists with everybody on respect and one love. And, you know, there was so much Bob Marley culture and influence that was still heavily and alive back then, you know, like, I wonder how much of who we are today is because of our roots in Jamaica. What do you think?
I think a huge amount. You know, we weren't afraid. We weren't afraid. And when I think about something like my staff gets a lot of compliments on my staff, you know, it taught me that you can't just judge by appearances and assume you know somebody's story, or forget that every person has a story. And 9 times out of 10, if you take the chance to just listen to it and get past all the whatever the you know obstacles in between you are, stories are usually pretty great. So those experiences in sitting down with you know, someone that at first sight in Jamaica might look a little scary or a little not so friendly, that has definitely translated to my ability to connect to some of my parents that I have to work with that aren't your mainstream. Oh, I can go and have a normal conversation with these people, but the ability to be able to hear somebody and listen to them and just hear them as a person, that definitely started in Jamaica.
Yeah. I love it, dude. I love hearing how you're impacting.
Our worlds, man. You know, we did have a long time where we were kind of, I don't want to say out of touch, because even when we weren't talking, I think we were always there with each other. But,
I agree.
It's inspiring, and it makes me feel great that we have done very similar things in different fields. I mean,
that's the thing that really has hit me tonight. I mean, from the time we were getting on, you know, just to kind of get things in order and just chat up a little bit, just catching on that. And I mean, I feel a little bad that I didn't really grasp that, because I remember us talking about, like, we were working on trying maybe have a team of yours, one of your leaderships, come to Jamaica, or kind of doing some of that, but I never really connected the depth of what you were doing. And when you really get into it, it's really powerful, and it's really the same thing I'm doing. We're doing the same thing, just in different streams, you know,
it's a different setting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a big connection, you know, and I do, you know, I'm on this leadership thing. So I've just, you know, it's been something I've been doing. I do, like, you know, I'll do conference presentations or write an article here or there. But our leadership that we have with trying to have, you know, have people work towards a common aim. The stuff we were doing in Jamaica, the stuff we were doing as teammates and you know, all through college, it all just comes back out in what we're doing now. It's amazing. And who knows? I mean, it's a tribute to BG as well. I think some of our
same thing
led to that, because something there gave us the confidence to take those risks and not be scared to do some of the things that we've done.
There's no, I mean, you know, even you got to attribute to the Delt House. I mean, you really have to put all the pieces together that formed who we are. I mean, even the Delt House, I mean, I don't know if we were pioneers in the Delt House, not me and you, but like the Delt House in general. I mean, we were pioneering a lot of things.
Pioneering a lot of newspaper articles.
That's right. But I mean, but we were together, man. We were all sports champs. I mean, that was our one thing I mean, not the one thing, but just, I think the brotherhood, the thing that I know, there's some core things in that fraternity life. I wish I could remember what our core values were. I don't know that I remember them, but I bet you serving might have been in that mix. I mean, there's a lot of things we learned that we apply.
There's no doubt. Well, and that whole, you know, it's not like we had a formal lesson plan at our chapter meetings that were going over this lesson we were learning, but that love and that bond together, whether it was true or not, I know there's not a Delt in that house that didn't feel like we could do whatever we wanted. If we were all buying in, we were getting it done.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
You know, one of the things we talked about before we came on that I also see as a huge parallel between us is we're talking about how in a lot of the business manuals, or you'll hear, people say, these executive CEO or these, super successful guys, well, you just have to manage to keep your personal life separate from your business life.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that, and it sounds great, but man, that is the exact opposite of me. And I think it is you too. I was saying earlier, I never stopped being a principal. And at the same time, when I'm being a principal, when I'm, wearing my little school uniform or whatever you want to call that, I never stopped being the guy I am outside of school either.
Right.
Kids will always, what's your favorite thing to do, Mr. Bell? Oh, have fun. I mean, I hope that's your favorite thing to do. So, what's going to make you be able to have fun when you're old? Get a good education, man. It's going to open a few more doors for you. But,
that's great.
And at the same time, I'll have conversations with people outside of school that revolve around education. And it's, I never stop being one or the other. And just like, I don't think there's anything you do in your life that you're not constantly in the back there or connected to what you're doing, and the people you surround yourself with is connected to the mission of site.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I say a lot of time on the faith-based side of it is that, I make my work, my worship, like I don't separate it. Cause like, in the whole little Christian world, a lot of times you have people that act one way on a Sunday, right? And they go to church and they do the little thing. And then they're like a whole nother animal during the work week. And it's like, wait, you're like a fraud, what kind of hypocrite are you? And so I've always kind of said, well, I'm not going to mix. I'm not going to be any different. I mean, I'm the same dude on a Sunday as I am on a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday, and a Thursday. And I'm going to treat people the way I want to be treated, because that's one of
the qualities of a good, authentic leader is that not in a negative way, but your behaviors and attitudes and mode of operation is it's somewhat predictable to the people that you're around, because you are the same person all the time. So that builds trust. That builds trust for people that rely on you, because they know, okay, this isn't Sunday, Doug. This is just Doug. If he says it's going to get done, it's going to get done.
There you go. Love it. Pembroke's asking about knockers. Do you remember what knockers is? I don't know that I know what knockers. Oh, knockers. Is that a Delt thing? Knockers is one like you had to like. Was those at the chapter meetings?
Oh gosh,
you have to give us some more on that, Butter. I don't remember. I think it's a chapter thing. One thing I do say back on the Delt days is that we did learn leadership, actually, because there was structure. We had a board. There was stuff that we had to do. We had to learn humility when we had to go around and get everybody's signature. You had to learn how to, you had to learn how to get in a door. You had to learn how to. There's a lot of skills that we did learn.
Oh, absolutely. Learning those personal. I mean, making it important to learn about your. I mean, we're a little overboard, but our elders or those who came before us. That is, and just little things like, I mean, you better remember their names.
Right.
I know, I've read some of those leadership books too, that one of the first things they say, hey, when you meet someone new, learn their name, use it often. And the next time you see them, make sure you address them by name.
Right.
Yeah. I love when I have students, and it's so true. I love when I have students that instead of the, hey, good morning, Mr. Bell, or instead of just, hey, what's up? Or good morning. It's, hey, good morning, Mr. Bell,
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, that really does work, man. Use somebody's name, it sticks with them. So we learned etiquette. I mean, we were forced to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, we had to take etiquette classes at the Delt House.
At the end of chapters, it was knockers was at the end of the chapters. I think
yeah.
I think he was ragging on somebody, like somebody had a bad weekend or something.
Yeah, like Doug McCloy put the pool cue through the felt on the pool table. Or,
yeah, there you go. That's a nice one. If that were the only one. He did mention about my broken elbow back when I walked over top of the car, because I did know that I was invisible back then.
Yeah, we managed to win all those games without you.
I know. We did. I did get back for some of them. Boy, those were some battles. Yeah. Let's see. Mort says, learning respect, traditions, and character development.
Absolutely.
It was. Yeah. You were kind of accountable to everybody. I mean, you couldn't be a fraud in the Delt House and get away with it. If you were, you just known to be a fraud.
Well, there's not very many places to hide.
No, there wasn't. Oh my. Hey, so so where are you going now? Like what's happening for you now? Like so tell me just a little bit about the STEM school. I know what I want to talk about too, is, I don't hear it talked about all that much, except for like hearing parents like saying, especially moms, or because they tend to get stuck with the education at home now, is like all the kids are at home from school, and it's just like, yeah, everybody's moaning about not going to restaurants, going to the jobs. You get a little bit of this, oh my gosh, my kids are home and they're homeschooling. But I think there's a bigger impact. Those kids have been off like a long time and they're not going back. So as an educator, like what's the impact that you see that's going to be on the kids or the families or the schools? Give us some insight.
It's an enormous impact on everybody, on teachers too. As much as anybody can get tired and wore out of their job, and teachers get into teaching because they like to teach, and none of them that are in the traditional setting signed up to teach online.
True.
So, the one thing, I think it was Whitmer, or the Washington local superintendent, had a great message on the news tonight. She's like, parents, because the most important thing, we want the kids to keep up on their academics and everything, but we want them to be okay. I mean, this is a traumatic thing for adults. Imagine how these kids are, and then seeing how their parents, the kids are witnessing every reaction that their parents show that they might not have seen before. So taking care of the emotional side of the kid and their psyche, that's the most important thing. So this I wish I could remember her name, the superintendent at Washington Local, just said, hey, we're professionals. We've been through stuff like this before. We'll be through it again. We've got it. Whatever we need to do, we're going to get it done. But it's hard. It's so hard because not every kid has access to online.
Yeah.
The ability to get online.
Right.
Especially in your urban areas. It's just tough. And it's not the same. The younger you get, the more, I've got preschool and kindergarten kids. How much are they really getting from an online lesson? They need that interaction with their teachers. And the other part that can't be overlooked is, you learn a lot of stuff from the books and the content, but a big part of school is just learning how to get along as a person and how to treat people and how to follow directions and how to learn what personal space is and listening to other, there's a lot of other things that you can't learn online. So it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I'm almost busier now than I am during the school year or during a regular day. Just sitting at my computer, during a normal school day, I'm running around putting out the little miniature fires that happen everywhere.
Right.
But now trying to address, and it's challenging, trying to address and let students and my staff and my parents know that, hey man, we haven't gone away. We still got your back. It's very difficult. As evil as social media can be, it's one of the blessings through this whole thing is if I need to get a message out to all my parents, Facebook is by far the easiest way to do it.
To your parents.
To my parents and the students. And don't think the students don't have phones too.
Yeah, but you got what I find is you have to find them on Instagram.
Well, so there's a lot of great apps, and your kids are a little bit older, so they might not be using them. But there are a lot of apps, especially for the elementary age, that the teachers are using every day in school anyways to say, okay, little Dougie got, only 5 cookies out of 10 because, he was eating ranch or whatever it might be. They also use those for messaging back and forth. And it's secure because you don't have anybody's phone numbers. You're just members on this app.
Right.
Things like that have made it a little easier to keep in touch. And that's what I'm finding the parents want the most, and the kids more than the parents, is they just want that connection with school. There's a silver lining. Kids are finding out that it's not such a bad thing to go to school every day.
There you go.
It's where all their friends are and where they get a break from their parents. I mean, I know parents are trying their hardest, but I've been in education my whole life. It's really hard for me to help my kid with his homework. I mean, he's a junior in some pretty hard classes. I mean, when's the last time you busted out some calculus?
No, it's not happening.
No matter what grade level it is, in every situation, parents, as much as they want to help, I mean, I want to help my son, but it's just not happening. I'm not going to learn calculus again. No. So, it's just really hard. And it causes a lot of anxiety because nobody really knows how it's going to look. I mean, we're actively, my staff and I, and like every staff around Ohio and the country and the world, are trying to make plans for what are we going to do when we do resume? How are we going to make sure everybody feels safe? How are these parents going to feel safe enough to let their kids come to us? What are we going to do different? How are we going to do business differently? Because everybody's going to have to. But before we do that, we all have to figure out, before we can open up the school the right way to be safe, we have to close it down. And no schools in Ohio had that chance to gradually wind down. So sometime here, I would expect that when they lift the stay-at-home order, we're going to have to figure out a way for staffs to get into schools and shifts so that they can clean out their stuff and get rooms prepared so they can have a real super deep cleaning. And, just, I think the uncertainty is the hardest part, but it's not the last time we're going to deal with something like this in education or as a society. Mm-hmm. The one thing I'm positive is that we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it and hopefully learn some things. I mean, one super positive for me is I've learned that we can have our administrative meetings district wide. They're working perfectly well on video conference. Maybe we won't have to get pulled out of our buildings, and things like that we're learning that, hey, we can keep away from each other and still function in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of things that we're finding that we can do that we weren't doing before. We
probably should have been.
Yeah. Kent, he's got a good question. How do you think we would have handled this crisis if it had happened when we were in college, like without today's technology?
Man, I think for one thing, without today's technology, it would have spread a lot faster, and a lot more people would have got infected because, we hear everything through the instant technology, but that's scary, man.
We might not have shut down.
We might not have. What could we have done? It's not like we could have. What are they going to give us, homework packets?
Right.
So that's not to get off the Kent question, because that's a great one. That's a scary answer.
Yeah.
I know how responsible I was back in those days.
Oh my.
But a lot of school districts sent like the blizzard bags home, and when we sent ours home for kids that didn't have access to online things, we had to give them something to keep them at least from regressing.
Yeah.
Well, we're to the next stage where, okay, those have lasted we got you good till May 1st, but now we're going to be out for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. So we want to do another distribution round, which is a whole logistic nightmare in a school, in a district that has 65 buildings, and thousands and thousands of students. But parents and teachers are asking, well, what are we going to do with the stuff that gets turned back in? These kids have had these big packets at home they're working on, and the parent and person side of me is like, well, if I'm a teacher, I'm going to take those with rubber gloves, and they're not coming in my house.
Exactly. You're not going to handle that paper.
And I've had some parents get in touch with me like, yeah, I almost feel guilty because I don't want to expose the teachers to all those germs.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge that no one even thought about. Hey, get them the stuff, but we didn't think about the collecting. So there's just a million things that are coming up. Now, for a guy that's been a principal for 2 years, I can honestly say they did not include this in the instruction manual.
It was not in there, was it?
No, but it's the same like you. What can you do as a leader? What's your job? You got to make sure everybody knows that you're thinking about them and we're planning, and you got to be in touch with them.
I think I was writing out in a message to a friend of mine today is that, there's so much of this that you want to base on science, but and you're a science guy, but when you don't have data that you can trust to put into a formula, the output of it isn't giving you an answer that you can really trust. And we've seen things change from, it's all about washing hands. Now it's all about wearing a mask. It's all about the rate. It's all about the this and that. And so as a leader, at some point, you just have to make decisions that you don't have the facts, on how to progress through and lead.
And it is difficult because what was true yesterday might not be true tomorrow.
Right.
So it's such a fluid situation, and again, none of us have ever been through it. Even my parents who have been through a lot more than I have, they've never experienced anything like this. So the whole uncertainty and the changing information.
Yeah.
It tests everybody's mojo, but especially people that are leading groups of people.
It goes along with one of our mantras is that blessed are the flexible, for they shall bend and not break. Because if you're like, it's got to be in this box, and if it's not in that space, it doesn't work for me, you're going to blow up in this time. And I can imagine there are people at home, there are people with their kids at home that just, it can't be good, because they just don't have that ability to deal with the uncertainty and the change. It's changing all the time, which is kind of like I love about your trips that you do and the trips that we do, is that it's about taking you out of the comfort zone where you got no control, you don't know the answers, and now go ahead and make a leadership type decision.
You stand yourself to get the job done.
Yeah.
Well, it's like any athlete's always heard, the true measure of a man is the amount of adversity it takes to break you.
Ooh. I like that one.
And at times, challenging times, it exposes character. And, it takes to be an effective leader, you have to be a little bit fearless and not afraid to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. And not afraid to hear what people are going to say about you, because no matter what you say, there's somebody on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're making everybody happy, you're not making any tough decisions.
Right. Exactly. Love it. Well, man, we go an hour every night when we do the show. We hit our hour mark already, Billy.
Well, we got to do this again. We have to do this again. Maybe not on air, man. It's been really.
Yeah, we need to take our thing offline. We need to get together once the borders open, or you got to get down here. Rhonda says you can't manage through a crisis. You have to lead through a crisis.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. You can't manage it. You just got to lead it. Yeah.
Well, there's so I don't know how well it translated, but a good Polish friend of mine was saying there's good and bad management. There's no such thing as good or bad leadership. There's either leadership or there's not. You have a good or a bad manager.
Say that one again. I don't know if my internet broke up, but give me that one again. I like that one.
You can have good management and poor management. There's no such thing as a good or a poor leader. You're either leading or you're not.
Yeah.
So to go along with what Rhonda said, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Managing a crisis right now is not going to get it done. We need leaders.
So true. Well, and some people don't like lead because lead isn't always based on facts. It's based on making a decision.
Yeah. And knowing it's going to be unpopular, and you might get pie in your face.
Exactly.
And there's Indians and there's chiefs. Not everybody's cut out to be the chief.
No, you don't have to be. Hey, Rhonda saying a good interview, Doug. Congrats on everything. It's so true, man. We're happy for you. You got a couple kids. You got a daughter graduating from Cincinnati, is right?
Correct.
Another one at UT.
UT doing well, and my boys doing really well at Anthony Wayne. Doing crew well. It's a whole nother story, man.
Oh, that's great. I don't know that one. We got to fix that one. Is he going to?
Yeah, absolutely. After 3 days in Chattanooga, we discovered that you live there. That's
just terrible. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Is completely our style.
Well, we're going to get together, dude.
Absolutely, man. It's been wonderful. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're on. First page 1.
Hey, man. If you need me to write, I got my typing hands already.
All right, great.
All right.
I'll do a little outro and then stay on so we can chat a little bit after. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. It's good.